Yeah, then I will take over now. Just talking you a bit through the results of our manufacturing pulse survey that we have run some weeks ago. Let's say starting point for me will be just taking you with me on a short journey through the supply chain challenge. And also I want to give some insights what we are hearing, let's say, from the market. Okay. Let me quickly start with highlighting again what's happening around us. The European Uncertainty Index visualizes what we all feel and what we experience also in our daily work. Uncertainty has become the new normal, and so that's as well framing the requirements for tomorrow's business process landscape for all of us. That's something we also saw in the presentation, especially from Sean, what this means to all of us. In general, we are seeing 4 critical trends that demand our full attention in the market, starting with digitalization, and this is no longer optional. It's the backbone of competitiveness for sure, and now the AI readiness piece is amplifying this perspective dramatically. That's what we see out there. We're having countless conversations already with customers about one key question, and that is how do we build the right foundation to become AI ready, to be prepared? And the answer always starts with enterprise master data management, because without this, driving AI in core functions is impossible. Master data is not a side project, it's the engine for future supply chain intelligence. Building resilience and beyond. We have heard also from Sean, resilience is, let's say, it's essential, but let's be clear, it's also just the starting point. We need agility, we need anti-fragility in planning, sourcing, and execution. Because in today's environment, for static supply chains, it's simply really tough to survive. The third point is the navigation through the, let's say, rising regulatory pressure. The regulatory requirements are exploding across, especially the global supply chains. Think of the sustainability and ESG, carbon footprint, human rights, and child labor, anti-money laundering, and especially around this context, the growing complexity of sanctions. Think about what's coming, the BIS 50 rule. How in Germany, AWG-Novelle is a huge topic. Here in the UK, the owned or controlled rule. So we must digitally document beneficial ownership structures, and we need to check sanctions based on shareholder data. So compliance is no longer a checkbox, that's definitely a strategic capability. And the fourth huge topic and trend, let's say, we are seeing is we need, and that's essential, we need to understand our markets. We need to understand, let's say, our potentials. We need to build data-driven sales organizations in manufacturing, and especially when we are looking into the machinery segment, this is a long journey. And we need to uncover market potential in existing and new markets. And that means analyzing corporate structures of current customers. Where are the white spots that we can activate through existing relationships? And again, this requires also strong master data management process to create a holistic business partner view across the entire organization. And if this resonates with you, for sure, let's connect, and we would be happy to dive deeper into these topics with you then also afterwards. But now, maybe one last point. If you still think that master data management is just nice to have, we can also have a quick look into this quote here. And here we see nearly 70% of supply chain inefficiencies can be traced back to poor data quality and inconsistent master data across systems. But now let's have a detailed look on what we have done in terms of our supply chain survey. because, and that's what you can see here on this slide quickly, we are supply chain leaders across the globe, how they are approaching supply chain resilience in an age of increasing complexity. And here you can see the breakdown across the markets, the subsectors, and also the company sizes. So you see we're in touch with supply chain leaders in the US, in UK, in Sweden, in Germany, in Switzerland, across the different manufacturing sub-verticals, from automotive, chemicals, over machinery, FMCG, healthcare and life science, construction, and also in terms of the sizes, yeah, let's say we have, I think, a good spread across the different sizes of companies here in this survey. And I try to, let's say, summarize the results in 5 key findings. And the first one is that although the landscape already has changed from global to near and local sourcing, and it's continuing this, the major part of companies are unable to manage their relevant supply chain beyond tier 1 and 2. And so what does this mean? Global sourcing is no longer the default. I think we all agree on this. Over 80% of companies now favor local or nearshore suppliers driven by risk mitigation and regional stability. Automotive, that's what we saw in the survey as well, remains a bit the exception with a broader global footprint. And the US also shows strong local sourcing preference, while UK firms are more reliant on nearshore or global suppliers due to structural constraints. And this shift demands also the reconfiguration of supplier networks, of logistic models and risk assessments. Companies must align sourcing strategies with geopolitical realities and regional capabilities. And despite this shift, most companies lack visibility and control beyond their immediate suppliers, so tier 1 and the suppliers. This means they cannot effectively monitor risks, disruptions, or compliance deeper in the supply chain. But without this multi-tier transparencies, companies remain vulnerable to hidden risks such as raw material shortages or ethical issues, or as well cascading disruptions from upstream suppliers. And we can underpin these observations with some facts from the survey, as we can see on this slide. We are seeing here overall only half of the companies manage their supply chain in the needed depth. UKI looks a bit better with 53%, but we also see less than 40% of the procurement departments manage their supply chain beyond tier 2 well, or let's say sufficiently. But the end-to-end supply chain transparency is critical, and this needs investments in tools and processes, enabling better risk control and sustainability tracking. Visibility, that's not a, let's say, not a sourcing issue, it's a capability issue. But why is this the case? What did we found else in this survey? We saw also that for sure the complexity is a huge topic. And the supply chain complexity heavily impacts enterprise operations. It drives operational costs, causes delays, and strains quality assurance. And for sure, this influences also how supply chain management issues are recognized. So issues are often detected late because complexity obscures root causes and problems manifest as symptoms rather than visible upstream risks. But there are as well strategic impacts. The complexity creates dependencies, limits agility, and also complicates supplier integration. And if we are looking into the details, then we see in general that 80% of the respondents mention the accelerating complexity impacts strategy and operations. But we are then also seeing here in this slide that the impact on operations is much more visible, measurable, and painful. And this is recognized much more than the strategic impacts. That's really, really important to mention because this then in the end also leads or is, let's say, the why the management of supply chain resilience is still treated as an operational task rather than a strategic capability. Companies focus on fixing immediate problems instead of building systemic resilience. Only 1/3 of manufacturing firms have a strategic focus on supply chain visibility and resilience, despite recognizing its operational and strategic impact. Most of the suppliers remain trapped in short-term operational problem solving, and their efforts are concentrated on mitigating risks at the supplier level and not anticipating broader disruptions or laying the foundation to create transparency across the whole supply chain. And this short-term mindset, that's something we already discussed today, leaves organizations vulnerable to large-scale shocks because resilience is not embedded in enterprise-wide planning or governance. The numbers, they are, let's say, showing this. The execution remains the dominant challenge. That's what they are saying. Operational issues ranging from supplier-specific risk to data quality and visibility are consuming the attention of the supply chain leaders. We are seeing here about 75% of the interviewed managers named the operational issues as the biggest challenge in the last 12 months. And at the same time, we are seeing that data issues within those challenges are dominating. That's quite interesting. And the regulatory changes, and Alicia also touched on this already, tariffs and sanctions have been mentioned as the biggest challenge over the last 12 months. And by the way, we also saw the regulatory changes are also seen as the biggest risk for 2026. Our fourth finding then is that over half of the manufacturing companies report insufficient data as a major obstacle to achieving supply chain visibility and managing operational issues effectively. And this for sure has a lot of problematic impacts. Now, the limited visibility beyond tier 1 and 2 suppliers, we are seeing slower response to disruptions due to lack of real-time insights. And we are also seeing the difficulty in proactive risk management and performance monitoring. And the underlying cause then as well is also what we are seeing in the markets still, or what we are still seeing in the market, are the fragmented systems, a lack of data sharing culture within the companies, and also the absence of integrated digital platforms. And digging into some details around this, we are seeing here only 1/3 of the companies are able to make qualified decisions based on their data in order to identify supply chain inefficiencies, to find alternative suppliers, or to generate real-time reports or dashboards, or as well to track performance against the key objectives. We are also seeing here that decisioning suffers from outdated manual processes. Only about 40% of manufacturers have made the necessary progress in process automation. And then we are also seeing that the homework is still undone, let's say it that way. 41% distrust their own data sets, 54% claim too much duplicate data in several systems, 51% struggle with siloed data across tools and systems, and 44% report AI projects failed as a result of poor data quality. And looking at the, let's say, the use of external data, we are seeing here, and that's also quite interesting, that regardless the fact that sanctions are identified as the most common risk, only 1/3 of the companies are using external information, like screening information on third parties, on sanctions, PEPs or watch lists, or at least, let's say, the beneficial ownership structure data of third parties to identify the beneficial ownerships behind a company or behind a business partner. So I think there is there is still a lot to do in the market. And our last finding then also is about a kind of current imbalance. So organizations must rebalance their focus, integrating strategic foresight into daily operations, because the tactical firefighting is not sustainable without a resilient strategic backbone. And without embedding this strategic foresight into daily operations, resilience remains definitely fragile. Short-term fixes cannot withstand systemic shocks or long-term volatility. And we also saw in the presentation of Sean what fragility means in the end. So resilience must evolve from an operational mindset to a strategic capability that anticipates risks and integrates them into planning and also into governance processes or structures. And so we are also seeing, I just want to quickly touch on this, that the priorities for supply chain resilience improvements are spread really, really widely. We are seeing here the improve of usage of internal AI becomes more and more attention. So that's good to see, at least. But I also want to mention that there is definitely also a subset of companies which are combining strategic supply chain improvement with advanced technologies, AI, automation, and digital transformation. And these firms also prioritize visibility and resilience, showing strong interdependencies between tech adoption and strategic maturity. And very interesting also to see is that the UK region seems to be a bit more mature in this, because 96 out of 500 from the UK are part of this subset. So let's say that's about 20% compared with the 13.5% of this group overall across 2,000 companies. And this group then represents the future of supply chain excellence. And the others, they should emulate their integrated approach, leveraging edge technologies to build intelligent and adaptive, resilient supply chains. I want to, let's say, just come to an end with also some recommendations. Because what we saw in the survey leads to, let's say, those 6 key points. Let's say we need to shift from reactive to the proactive acting. We need to elevate resilience to a board level priority. We need to invest in digital infrastructure and visibility. We need to deploy predictive analytics, integrated platforms. We need to collaborate across ecosystems, share data across the entire organization and systems, and we need to build trust with our suppliers. We need to reconfigure supplier networks to align with regional sourcing trends and to create anti-fragility against external disruptions. And also a huge part is the development of talent and resources focused on deep tier supply chain management and understanding, and also the usage of agentic AI. We also, and that's what I already highlighted several times, we need to embed foresight into operations. So we need to link strategic risk scenarios to operational decisions, develop governance and culture. We need to create resilience councils and reward, especially proactive risk management. And what we also should do is we should benchmark against others, against tech-driven leaders, to accelerate transformation and build an AI-ready data foundation. Yeah, let's say sum up with this quote here, or with this statement. Investments in data and automation, they are no longer optional for manufacturers. They are essential for establishing transparency across business partners. And without trusted and integrated data, resilience and agility remains definitely out of reach. But we don't want to close today without letting you also know that Dun Bradstreet is prepared to feed your business process landscape with the high quality data that is needed. Nevertheless, if we are talking about the most relevant business applications which are connected via our API based on generic connectors or other integrations, or if we are talking about cloud infrastructures like Databricks or Snowflake, which are as well already connected to our DB data cloud. And for sure, also the third channel, let's say, is the agentic AI frameworks that are now establishing very quickly out there. And here it doesn't matter if you move forward with the hyperscalers like Microsoft or Google, Databricks, or with enterprise application providers like SAP or Oracle or Salesforce, or with big consultancies like Deloitte, Accenture, or new agentic specialists. We will provide our high quality data as AI-ready data and AI-ready answers in the most common standard protocols, MCP and A2A. So that's a really important topic over the next weeks and months for all of us, I think. So what we want you to remember when you are thinking back of today's session is, for sure, hopefully there are really relevant takeaways for you today from Sean, from Alicia, how to deal with supply chain resilience and anti-fragility, how to reflect your maturity stage and find direct anchors to create resilience and agility in your supply chain. But you also should take with you that DNB is or could be a partner for you in all of the challenges present and ahead. We are here to understand your status quo, to jointly discuss your data maturity and AI readiness in terms of business partner management processes. We are here to discuss also how to move forward, how others are doing this, and how to measure business outcomes and ROI. So please feel free to directly get in touch with our team here in London or across Europe, or for sure as well with me directly. We are happy to connect with you.